Hi, I'm Chris and this is the presentation of my final year project. The project is titled Adapting an Existing Modern Day Environment, Turning it into a Deathmatch Arena. This is an overview of what will be covered in this presentation. The summary of this project is that I was to take an environment that was already existing and adapt it so that it can accommodate a deathmatch arena. A recap of what was said in the progress report presentation was that the environment that had been chosen was the university's Octagon building. A way that this could be utilised is by using the imminent move of the Stafford campus to Stoke-on-Trent, and this environment could be a vision of what the building could look like if it was deserted and empty. The next part would be the areas of research that were conducted throughout the duration of this project, and the final section of this presentation would be the displaying of the end result of this project. This part of the presentation is about the planning of this project. There were steps that had to be taken in order to plan this project successfully. The main areas of research had to be split into two different areas. These two areas were research into what makes a successful deathmatch arena, and the other section is to how to adapt the environment and make it into a deathmatch arena. The following points had to be considered when working on a project like this. The first point is the spawn locations for the players. A couple of points that were raised within the research was that they had to incorporate safe zones within the environment and to provide a certain level of cover. This would be to prevent players from getting spawn killed and thus reduce the playability of the map. The next one is choke points. These have to be in a central location for the main choke point, which then could be used to focus the flow of the gameplay and move players towards this main choke point and encourage confrontation. The next point is the layout. Alternate routes would encourage lapping of the map and also include multiple vantage points within this map to provide strategical variations for each player. Symmetry needs to be used sparingly, but a way that this can be countered is to block routes off, and this links in with the layout of the map, which is then in order to provide strategical variations. Another section would be to have cover within the map, the reason for this being that it would prolong firefights and then enable players to perform various actions like health replenishment, weapon reloading, or the changing of weapons. This next slide contains just a few screenshots of the layout within the Octagon building, which will be used for my construction methods later on in the project. The main method that was used to construct this environment was by creating modular assets and using these to create the environment within the game engine. These were split up into modular asset sets. Because the building is to consist of the bottom two floors of the Octagon, I thought it would be wise to create two asset sets that would construct the top and bottom floor layout of the environment. The reasoning behind this is that the construction time would then be reduced, which furthermore could then be focused on other areas of the project. The programs that were used for this project were the ones that have been used throughout the duration of the degree, mainly because of the ease of use with them and the familiarity that is already there with this software. The software that was used was 3ds Max, Adobe Photoshop, and UDK. Here are some images of the two separate asset sets that were used to construct the environment. The way that these were constructed was through creating an initial asset for each set, and then all of the additional assets were created from this initial asset. The entire environment was pieced together within UDK. The assets that were used were the modular sets that were created previously within 3ds Max. The main compromise that had to be made when constructing this environment was that when it was all initially pieced together, it made the environment far too big in terms of scale and had to be shrunk down in order for it to work effectively. What this means is that only the bottom floor was to be used within the environment. The next slide is to show some of the screenshots within UDK of the final environment. These next few images are to demonstrate some of the unwraps and some of the textures that were used within this project. This next part is a video that displays the final environment within UDK. Looking back at this project, there are some adaptations that I would like to make, but this would only occur if the project were to advance further. The main adaptations would be that I would probably make the environment larger in terms of adding an extra floor to the map, but at the same time reducing the scale of the map so it doesn't appear as big to the player, which would then encourage faster paced action, but would also provide strategic variations for each player within the map. The main weakness of this project would be the scale of it. It appears to be on the large side and would ideally need to be made smaller. Also, additional assets should have been utilised to fill the map out more, which could then also provide more strategic routes for players to explore.